hopefully you had an opportunity to hear and understand how that conflict further developed between Joseph and the General Howard. Not only Joseph, but we also have Tehulhusote and General Howard. And then again, we have the Redcoats and General Howard as well. We also had another conflict at the very end that was starting to develop. Okay, how do you know that there was an actual conflict? How did Sound of Running Feet respond and think about this conflict? Here's some background information. So in the group that live in Wallowa, okay, there were about 750 people. Okay, so that means their whole tribe ended up having to move. These people were considered the non-treaty Nez Perce. Okay, so that means that people just forced them and wanted them to go to this other area without signing a treaty. So that contract, we said, that would allow them to get other goods. Chief Joseph and these people were among these non-treaty 750 people. Most of them were, like he said, elderly women and children, and some warriors. I want you to think about, so General Howard threatened him with a sword and threatened him with soldiers who held guns. Okay, why do you think General Howard threatened to drive the Nez Perce people out with soldiers and guns if they didn't obey? Why do you think they felt like they had that right? And then what do you think this shows you about what the land meant to the U.S. government? Just take a moment and think about that. We are going to use that evidence, or some of the information we read in chapter 3, to prepare to write your compare and contrast evidence, your paragraph. So we are still looking at this main idea of this whole unit. How does the conflict between the Nez Perce and the U.S. government reveal different cultures, cultural beliefs, and values? Okay, so there's different values right now. Different values of the land, different cultural beliefs. I know Tehulhusote had talked about how they didn't have any information about the spirit chief, whereas they had the cultural beliefs of the spirit chief and the spirit guardians that would help them. I want you to think about really quickly, what are some ways that this homeland specifically, what it meant to these Nez Perce homeland, these Nez Perce people? You heard a story by Joseph on why the mountains were important to him. You heard information from Tehulhusote of what the mountains, streams, meadows, trees, and the grass, and beasts that eat the grass, and birds that weave it into their nests, what it means to them. Okay, so I want you to take a moment and think about and relook in chapter 3 some other passages on why it was important to them and why they refused to leave it. So we are going to open up this handout 15A, Evidence Organizer for Focusing Question Task 4. And we want to figure out a couple different things. First, I want to see what is happening in this text. So what does this evidence that we have here, what does it mean? Talks about where we found it, and then why is this piece of evidence important? Pause your video now if you need to gather this article. Awesome. So in handout 15A, Evidence Organizer for our assessment task 4, we are going to compare and contrast the significance of the Nez Perce homeland. So what does the land mean to each group, and what does it show about the cultural beliefs and values? So maybe as you were going through chapter 3, you came along this piece of text. You do not understand what Wallowa is my home, and you do not understand why. I have many names, but thunder rolling in the mountains is the name that binds me forever to this land of the wandering waters. So it's happening right here in this text. Well, we've got old Joseph. So I would write this. We've got Joseph, not old Joseph, that was his father. Joseph was explaining a story, right? And how he got his name. he was trying to tell, so just in general, he was explaining his story. And he finally said, well, you don't understand that this happened to me. I have many names, but this name that was given to me by this land was important. So why is this important? Well, like I said, the name connects him to the land. This is Joseph's way of telling the general that the land just isn't land to them. Okay, it actually means something. So the land is more than just land. Okay, so you can add these couple things. We're going to do the next one together as well. Page 15, there was another quote that talked about this concept of what does the land mean to each group and what does it show about each group's cultural beliefs and values. The spirit chief made the mountains. He made the streams, the meadows, the trees, the grass, the beasts that eat the grass, and the birds that weave it in the nests. The spirit chief made everything. Who is this man that will tell us to leave our home, not our mother, and go to a place that does not belong to us? To Hulu Sote, to General Howard. So, in general, Hulu Sote was trying to argue with the general that they don't need to leave. That's what's happening in the story, okay, here in this part. He's trying to tell him, okay, why that the spirit chief, their kind of deities, were the ones that created it. They're the ones that can order them to leave, okay? So the evidence, yeah, like I just said, the spirit chief is the one who made the mountains. He's the one that can tell him to leave, not the white men. Okay, so like I said, the spirit chief made the land. He can tell the Nez Perce to leave, not the white men. And this is to let him also to let them know that their home right now is their home. The other place that they are supposed to go to isn't created by their land and wasn't given to them. Okay, so Lapwai was not their home. It was not given to them by the spirit chief. Okay, it was given to other people. Finally, I want you to explain what is happening in the story when Sound of Running Feet says, the idea of being driven away by soldiers to a strange place far from home I loved made wild thoughts flash through my mind. So what's happening here? Okay, so why is this in context? What did Sound of Running Feet see? What is she thinking about? And then elaborate. Why is that evidence important? What does it mean that with the cultural beliefs? Okay, what does the land's significance reveal about how she thinks? Okay, so elaborate a little bit. What is Sound of Running Feet feeling? What is she trying to say? When you're done, you can turn this in and submit it into Schoology. It will be here under Upcoming. Remember, it is called Handout 15A, Evidence Organizer for Focusing Text Question. When you are done, you need to complete this level or lesson 15. Okay, that's, if you notice, our handouts are 15. Text-dependent questions. Remember, I have everything by week. So we are under Wednesday. So here's where you would turn in your evidence organizer, and then you will do your text-dependent questions. This is based off of, your questions are based off of chapters 1, 2, and 3. Please use your book for help and use your book to find evidence. Okay. First question is, where does the story first take place? Okay, so add a complete sentence. So I want you to write this sentence. This part of the story takes place in, and please tell me where it takes place. Who are some of the new characters that you meet in chapter 2? Ooh, we talked about it yesterday. So please tell me, and it says list the names and characters and some things you learned about them, so it does not have to be in complete sentences. You do not have to name every character, but I would like you to name the most important characters and a couple of things you learned about them. Ooh, we're going to write in complete sentences here. Okay, in chapter 1, we learned some members of the Nez Perce tribe, so not Sound of Running Feet's band, has sold their land to the U.S. government. How do the authors help with this conflict in chapter 2, or how do they develop? So why does General Howard come to the village? Please start your sentence with, in chapter 2, we learn about, okay, and add, what did you learn? What happened? And then General Howard and his soldiers come to do what? What did they come to do? And finish the sentence. I'm expecting a complete sentence there. Number 4. In chapter 3, we have events that further happen. Okay, so if you've read chapter 3 with me, you should be able to put these in order. Again, you need to use your book if you cannot remember or review some of these things. Number 5. Here's another question. What is another, okay, so this is kind of at the very end that I asked you, what is the separate conflict that is happening at the end of chapter 3? Another conflict, I want you to use this complete sentence. Another conflict that is happening at the end of the Nez Perce, or with the Nez Perce at the end of chapter 3 is, tell me what it is, and then tell me how you know this. This is where I want you to find evidence in the book. Is there a quote? Is there something specific that happens? When you're done, you can review your answers, and you are done for the day, except for reading for 30 minutes.